Okay, so this is my first what if video. I'm not sure exactly where to start this off, but it's gonna be where Deku gets betrayed and whatnot. And, we're gonna go 2 days before the USJ. Him and Uraraka are dating and whatnot. You know, he's going to, give her something. And, the usual happens, but with, let's see who. I'm gonna say Uraraka is cheating on Deku with, how can I say this? I'm gonna put Denki Kaminari as, so Uraraka is cheating with Denki on Deku, so he just, opens the door and, he's just not fazed by this at all, because he honestly doesn't care at the point anymore. So he's basically just alright, well, I guess you can keep her, Denki, because I don't need her, so yeah, later. So he just walks away, yeah, he's mad, he's pissed, basically. He's pissed, so he's going to go and, just for the sake of plot and whatnot, Melissa and female Bakugo, are there. Because in this one, Bakugo is a girl, so these two are friends. So female Bakugo and Melissa are friends. So he goes to them, talks to them about what's happened, and they're she's I'm gonna kill the floaty bitch, and she's I'll stay here with Deku, but Deku's no, don't. I'm gonna just leave it as it is and whatnot. So yeah, time skip. 2 days later, USJ attack. Things go pretty much to canon. Aizawa gets his crap wrecked, so but instead of everybody being portaled away, Deku he's got 5% control over One For All, so he's flipping. No, you know what, I'm gonna give him a bit more of a power boost. He can go 20% easy. So when Kirigiri goes to portal him, he hits the ground with a fist, making the earth pop up, and he shoots a boulder through, hitting Kirigiri, just making him destabilize the portal. So he tells Ida to go get some backup, and at this point Aizawa's crap is wrecked. Izuku sees this and just takes off towards the Nomu. So he engages the Nomu, and they're landing pretty good blows on each other. And at this point, you know what, just for the sake of it all, I'm gonna say Melissa's there to help in case a piece of equipment breaks for any reason, like a weather generator, scenario generator, or a piece of hero equipment gets messed up. She's there to help repair it right quick and help get the students back into the training. So Melissa's there. So is Bakugo, and they're just watching them land blows that are devastating, each one of them. So the Nomu's getting heavily damaged, but it's regenerating, and it's hitting Izuku 10 times harder, and his ribs arms and everything are getting pretty messed up. And then the Nomu just goes in and hits him right under the rib, like right at the ribs, and he goes flying backwards into the staircase, because they're at the bottom of the staircase in the center of the USJ fighting. And he's covered in, and he's trying to get out of the crater that was some stairs, but the Nomu's walking towards him, and he's standing up a bit. Izuku's standing up a bit at this point, and the Nomu just punches Izuku in the face, like hard enough to put him back in the crater and make the crater bigger, and then he's just pounding Izuku into the stairs. And at this point, it's been like 30 minutes since Ida left to get help, and All Might comes through the door, and he sees Izuku getting pummeled into the ground by this thing after a massive fight. And Izuku catches the Nomu's hand. I was gonna make this where All Might took the quirk back, but he's not. Instead, Izuku's just gonna gain more power because of what's about to happen. So, like I was saying, Uraraka cheating on him with Denki and whatnot. So he's not really fighting to protect Denki or Uraraka. He's fighting to protect Melissa and Bakugo because they're his friends. Female Bakugo is she's mean, but not mean. She calls him Deku and nerd, but that's normal. Fem Bakugo, right? So yeah, both Melissa and Katsuga, female Bakugo, I'm gonna call her Katsuga, are looking at Deku as he's slowly getting out of the crater, covered in blood from all the devastating hits he's taken. And he releases a attack at maximum power, which is over 100%. I'd say about 400%. He hit the Nomu with 400% of his power and sent it flying backwards into buildings and the forestry area, I'm assuming is what that area was called. I think there was a forest area because I remember there being trees inside of there, or that was just part of the decoration, I'm not sure. But I'm going to just say he sent him into the fire zone where the buildings are collapsing around the Nomu and whatnot. And the Nomu comes right back out of there and just uppercuts Izuku in the jaw, sending him into the air, and the Nomu jumps up and then punches him back down to the ground in the chest, and Izuku can't move anymore. He's knocked out. He's knocked out. And All Might gets down there and takes down the Nomu and goes to Izuku and says, "Young Midoriya, are you okay? Please respond or say something. Come on, say something, young Midoriya." And Midoriya said, "Damn it. It was too strong. I couldn't even stop it, even surpassing 100%. And All Might's like, I know. it's fine. You did all you could, and you were pretty. He says, it's alright, young Midoriya. You were heavily injured, and you were lost pretty bad amount of blood. I wouldn't expect you to be completely unfazed and not weakened by this. And yet, you still somehow managed to force it back by that much with just one hit. And at this point, the medics come in and are like, oh crap. I don't think we got enough stretchers for all this. We got 2. So we're going to take the heroes first. In which case, they take Aizawa and Izuku to the hospital where Recovery Girl is waiting. And Katsuka and Melissa are like panicking, like, oh god, what do we do now? Because Izuku is gone. And they ask All Might if they can ride with Izuku to the hospital, like, and they're like, yeah, go, hurry. One of you ride with Aizawa, and one of you ride with Izuku. That way, y'all know the status of both. So, the emergency workers are like, yeah, hurry, get in, and you can go with us to the hospital. And keep an eye on your friends here, on your teacher and your friend. And they're like, okay. So they all get in and go to the hospital. Aizawa is alright, but he still got pretty messed up, and Recovery Girl is able to heal him. Izuku, on the other hand, he has multiple broken ribs and broken bones in nearly every part of his body from the Nomu. And he's got some internal bleeding going on, and the doctors are like, oh crap, we don't know if he's going to make it. Recovery Girl starts to heal him, and the doctors start the surgery to remove some of the bone fragments that shouldn't be there. So he's got some scars. He's got the cannon scars on his hand because they had to remove the bone fragments. And he's got the scar on his arm and a couple from where they had to remove some of the rib bone shards from him. And they're like, well, your friend is okay, but he is in a comatose state for a little while. He was pretty badly injured, so I would say in about maybe, we can't really determine how long he's gonna be out for. So, it's basically a wait-and-see gamble. And so, Izuku, I'm just gonna say this now, guys, I'm gonna make him OP. He's gonna be OP. But, yeah, OP Deku, guys. So, Deku is in his Mindscape, and he's like, crap. Did I fucking die or something? Did I die? Then he hears some voices. He turns around to see them. And he's like, who are you guys? And why is there a giant dragon behind you? And they're like, and the one with pink hair says he's Natsu. The little girl standing beside him is Wendy. The one with long black hair is Gajiel. The redhead is Cobra. The one behind the blue-haired girl, Wendy, is Sting. The one beside Sting is Rogue, and the one beside Gajiel and in between Cobra and Gajiel is Loxus. And the dragon behind us, he's Acnologia. we're here to help you. And he's like, help me with what? And he's like, well, you're going to be passing your power on to somebody else when you wake up. And we're going to be your new power. And he's like, okay, but... And we're like, we already know who you have in mind to pass the power to because, you know, you were thinking you went as far as you could with it. And somebody else, you thought somebody else should have it that deserves it. So you were going to give up your dream to help somebody else achieve theirs. So we're here to become your new power and allow you to keep your dream while helping somebody achieve theirs. So, I guess a quick little rundown on our powers. I, Natsu, am the Fire Dragon Slayer. The girl is Wendy, and her ability is the Sky Dragon Slayer. Gajio is the Iron Dragon Slayer. Loxus is Lightning Dragon Slayer. Cobra is Poison Dragon Slayer. Sting is Holy Dragon Slayer and is the White Dragon Slayer, And Rogue is the Shadow Dragon Slayer. And Acnologia is, well, he has no element. So he's going to be like the most OPest thing that you can obtain. But you have to get all of our powers first before you can even attempt to try and acquire his. And they're like, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it'll be worth it. So you're going to have to stay here for a year or two, because that way you get a couple months with some time with each of us, because we're gonna you catch on to things pretty quick, kid. Not you saying, so you shouldn't take that long to teach. And Izuku's like, yeah, I do. So 3 months with each of you sound fine. That way I'm here for maybe 3 years. That way I have extra time. And they're like, yeah, sure, that's fine. 3 years in there is I'm going to say 3 months in the real world. So he's in his Mindscape for 3 years. He's completely mastered Natsu's training of the Fire Dragon Slayer. He's mastered Wendy's, which is Sky Dragon. He's mastered Gajio's, which is Iron Dragon Slayer. So he's got Fire Dragon Slayer, Iron Dragon Slayer, and Wind Dragon Slayer. He has mastered Sting and Rogue's, White Dragon Slayer, and Shadow Dragon Slayer, as well as Loxus's. He is currently with Cobra, and he's about to master it in another week there. So it's approaching like 4 months out there. And then later on, he can fight Acnologia or train with him when he's awake. So when Deku is awake, when he's sleeping, he can go fight Acnologia and gain his power when he's ready. So time skip a week. He's completely mastered all of their abilities, and they're like, all right, kid, time for you to go back to your world. You got people waiting for you to wake up. And he's like, all right, I'll come back to deal with Acnologia another day once I have time to master my abilities more and practice with them and get things done in the real world. And they're like, that's perfectly fine by us. We'll still be here because we can't really leave, because this is a Mindscape realm. And, yeah. So Deku wakes up, sits up, looks around, and sees Melissa and Katsuga with their heads on their arms as they're laying down beside him on his bed. Like, they're sitting in chairs, And he's like, okay, so they've been here all night, but how long have they been here for? And he says that out loud, and they slowly wake up and realize Deku's awake, and they hug him and really tightly, and he's like, if you do that, I'm going to slip back into a coma if you don't, loosen up your grip a bit. I'm like, sorry. And he's like, perfectly fine. Don't really care. But there's something I want to try. So he, remembers the training he went through. He makes a lightning ball, fireball, turns his arm a bit metal, and makes iron, and then poison around his fists. Wind swirling around in a tornado form in his hand, poison coming out of his hand, and then shadows and holy light coming out of his hands. And he's like, okay, so I gained the abilities. Okay, so yeah. And he's like, okay, so I'm going to tell you this. Bakugo, Katsuka, you already know the secret behind the thing. I'm going to tell Melissa, and that'll lead into what I'm going to do next, because I have these abilities now. So he explains to Melissa, one for all. And she's like, okay, but why are you telling me this? It really doesn't serve me any point. And Deku says, it actually does, because I'm going to give you one for all. I'm just going to train you a bit and give you some more muscle on so that it doesn't, rip you apart instantaneously. So she's like, okay. And Deku gets released from the hospital. They all go to class 1A. Katsuga walks in first, and then Melissa, and they have a disappointed look on their face. And they're like, he still hasn't woken up, and then they're like, they just look at them with the same look on their face that they had when they walked in, and then they turn to a smile, and then Deku walks in. I'm sorry. Deku walks in and says, no, I'm awake, but I need All Might and Aizawa and these two to come with me, because I need to talk to them in private about something. And they're like, and I was like, okay, problem child. Because by this point, Aizawa was already fully healed. And, sports festival's coming up in 2 months. And then the camp arc. And then, no, it's the Stain arc, then training camp. Then, I think that's how it went. So, yeah. So, the sports festival is coming up in a few months. So, he tells All Might that he told Melissa about One for All. And I was like, One for All, what is that? And him and All Might explain it. And he's like, okay, so what does this have to do with Melissa? And he says, I'm going to give One for All to Melissa. All Might and Aizawa are like, what? And he didn't tell Melissa that, or Bakugo that, or Katsuga that at the hospital. And they're like, what? And all four of them say, what? And he's like, don't worry, I can still be a hero, because I can, use, and he does all the same stuff. And he's like, yeah, I can do things now. basically. It's basically called Dragon Slayer's ability. Quirk, Dragon Slayer. I have the abilities of 7 dragons so far. There's an 8th. I just have to deal with it in my mind because it's a harder one to tame. They're like, okay, so your quirk is a multiple step mutation one, and he's like, yeah, basically. And they're like, okay, so can you help me train Melissa to handle one for all for a bit? And he's like, yeah, sure. So, they train her for like a month, because Deku teaches her how to control it a bit. And so she'll be able to use like 10% right away when she gets it. So they train her for about, I said it was coming up in a couple of months. So I'm going to say it came up in 3 months. So for 1 month and then half of the second month, so 1.5 months, they trained her. And then Izuku gave Melissa one for all. And then she transferred into class 1A. And then, they went back to the USJ to finish up what they were going to do. And, everything goes smoothly this time. They get their stuff in and done. And, yeah. So Melissa is now the user of One for All. And